Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Car Reviews podcast here with CollectorCarCanada.ca. In today's video, we have three cars to tell you about. The first is a 1973 Ford Mustang sports roof 4-speed manual, and it's a Mach 1 Tribute. So not an authentic Mach 1, it's got the full Mach 1 striping kit, but more importantly, it does have the 351 Cleveland V8 Cobra Jet engine. So that engine was good for, I think it was 266 horsepower right out of the factory. Please take a look at our detailed listing for all the specs, lot 252 on CollectorCarCanada.ca. And this is one from the collection of The Big Guy. Take a look at our fun stuff menu. You'll see a sub-menu item about him, all his successes, and the cars that his family has entrusted to us for sale. The next one is also from the same collection. It's a 1929 Ford Model A Tudor two-door sedan with a 3-speed manual transmission, getting the power such as it is from the 200.5 cubic inch engine down to the rear wheels. A beautiful restoration in quite presentable condition. Take a look at that one. It is lot 247 on CollectorCarCanada.ca. Again, the 29 Model A Tudor two-door sedan. The last one on today's video is a 1961 Oldsmobile Cutlass F85, the first year of the famed Oldsmobile Cutlass, from a nameplate that being Oldsmobile, which is now defunct. So that adds a little collector value to it as well. Family owned, over 20 years, by a serious car person. This one comes with a 215 cubic inch V8, rated at a mere 155 horsepower out of the factory, but at under 2,800 pounds, the 215 gets the car around quite admirably. It's finished in seafoam green over a green and white interior, automatic transmission getting the power to the rear wheels. So that's enough of an intro. And thank you for watching, and here come the cars.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another great car here on the Car Reviews podcast with CollectorCarCanada.ca. Before we get into detail about this car, I also want to remind you about our Collector Car Stories podcast, which is, rather than a review of the car we have on the website, we just hit a fun topic about automotive. We always have a guest. That guest might be there to talk about a car, a collection of cars, some kind of car event, but something related. We have a lot of fun with it, so I do encourage you to take a look. You might see someone you know, and hey, maybe you'll be on the next episode. If you have a car topic you'd like to share, hit us up at info@collectorcarcanada.ca. Tell us your idea, and maybe we'll shoot a Collector Car Stories podcast with you. Now, on to the car we have today, which is a 1973 Ford Mustang Mach 1 4-speed manual. And before I get too deep into it, I want to tell you that this car is from the Big Guys collection. Followers of the website might remember us running a few of the Big Guys cars previously. Now, the Big Guy, we're not going to name him by name, but you might be able to figure out who he was. He was a long-time successful Ford Lincoln dealer. In the early days, he was a Lincoln Mercury dealer. He was a franchise dealer for 42 years, and sadly, he passed away back in the late fall of 2023. He left a really neat collection for his survivors, but it's a collection that was a little too large for them to be able to exercise. So they decided to approach us, and we've been helping them with the sale of 6 cars. So this and another we're offering at the same time are the last 2 of the 6. So getting into this car, again, a 1973 Ford Mustang Mach 1 4-speed manual. It's lot 252 on CollectorCarCanada.ca. A little bit about the car. The Big Guy picked this one up in 2019. Would you believe someone traded this in on a new car at the Big Guy's Ford Lincoln dealership, which is still being run by the same management. Among them is 2 surviving children. And I'm actually despite the natural surroundings, it looks like I'm sitting beside the dealership right now. And you might think, wow, that medium copper metallic paint is gleaming. Well, that's because this car has just been treated to a new paint job and new decal kit and stripe kit as well. So you can see the black stripe going over the medium copper metallic. Factory correct for the Mach 1, and this is an authentic Mach 1 with a 351 Cobra Jet engine with the 4-barrel carb. So speaking of that engine, I think it's time now for me to start it. We'll have a listen to the engine and the idle exhaust, and we'll get a little deeper into this 1973 Ford Mustang Mach 1 4-speed manual. It is lot 252 on collectorcarcanada.ca. So here we go with the start. I couldn't help but rev it just a little bit because this big old 351 sounds like it's ready to go. Usually I tell our sellers to only let the engine idle, but this one sounds so good, I can't help but let it rumble a bit. Okay, I've had myself indulgent fun. I'll grab the camera you're watching me on now, and we'll begin a little bit more of a tour with me holding the camera. Okay, so a good time of the day for photography. The medium copper metallic is really glowing in the late afternoon, early sunlight here in the Orleans area of Ottawa. As I say, we're beside the dealership that the big guy, the Ford Lincoln dealership, the big guy left to the same management, including his 2 children. So we'll move in, get close to the engine. We'll pop the hood. I've got a separate microphone here. I'm going to pop that down. No internal release for the hood. I'm going to need to use my camera hand here. And there we go. Nice and simple, no prop rods. You can just see the springs on the hinges. So I'll get that second microphone in so you can hear the engine idling. Okay, so back to my microphone. Before we button up the hood, I just wanted to point out a few things. There are a few subtle modifications in here. I do notice an MSD ignition. And there's, of course, the label for the 351 Cobra Jet engine. Note the regular fuel decal as well. So this one will run on 87 octane. I also notice the valve covers have been changed out to a set of Ford Racing valve covers, which look really sharp. But otherwise, we're looking at a pretty stock engine compartment. Here's a diehard battery. And I also note the top of the hood's very presentable as well. Don't know if it was repainted recently or not, but if not, it sure didn't need it. So one last look at the engine compartment. And we'll move along to the rear to hear that idle from the exhaust end. So there's that new stripe kit over the new medium copper metallic paint. Mach 1 decal on the trunk lid. If I said decal, I meant decal. And the black spoiler, the contrasting black spoiler, same color as the stripe. So here's a listen to the exhaust. Sounding healthy and strong from the 351 Cobra Jet V8. So I think we're done with the engine running portion of the video. I'm going to cut the engine. and we'll start with a walk around to the exterior. Now, I always like to make a point of showing flaws to viewers of the exterior. This one, it's going to be pretty difficult. With the fresh repaint and decal kit, everything is looking tip-top. I was going to say the grill looks like it has some patina, but it's just a little dusty, as you can see. So maybe a little patina here on the headlight surrounds, but a fine-looking 52-year-old automobile. There is a tiny bit of flake in this paint, and this time of day really picks it up. There's also a front spoiler down here. Again, a little dusty, but looking like in very good condition. Moving along to the wheels, we have a set of Magnum 500 wheels, certainly period correct for a Ford Mustang of the day. There is a staggered set of tires on this car. I can read 235/60 R15 on the front driver's tire here, and that's got an S speed rating. I did note the date codes on the tires. I see a year 18 for this one. I think that's what I see anyway. I might be fibbing. I might see a 12 for that. But we've got close-up photos of it on our detailed listing, so take a look at that. I defer to that. And the striping kit certainly wakes up, well, not that the brand new medium copper metallic paint needs waking up, but I guess I'll say the black stripe kit really has a sharp contrast against the medium copper metallic. I'm not sure if the camera is picking up that fine flake in the sunlight, but to the naked eye, it really does look sharp. I don't even notice any runoff on the paint. I'll keep my eye open for that as we continue our walk around to the car. But this paint job was no weekend job. We're sitting next to a franchise Ford dealership, and the dealership comes with a body and paint shop among its appointments. So in fact, keen observers of the website will note that our lot number for this car, 252, is a little bit out of alignment with some of the recent cars we've had. And that's because the dealership certainly took its time and made sure it got the paint right. The reason I came back to the front wheel here is to show a disc brake. And I note the rear brakes are drums. So back to the tire here. As I say, a staggered set, so a little wider here in the rear. 255/60 R15, again with the S speed rating on the BF Goodrich raised white letter radial TA. So look, a sharp number here. So again, 1973, the last year of the first generation Mustang. First generation Mustang went from model year 65 to 73. A lot of people talk about the 64.5 Mustangs, which is reasonable to say. They were produced in early 64, but the registrations for those cars, in fact, read 1965. And really, in my mind, there were 3 or 4 sub-generations within that first generation. Again, this is the last. In 1974, Ford went to the Mustang II among OPEC pressures and fuel economy pressures. Certainly not feeling the pressure with this 351 Cobra Jet V8. So here we are at the rear fascia. We got dual exhaust. Both pipes look, I won't say they look new, but they don't look weathered. It's important to note that while this car was in the big guys collection, it was stored at a dedicated heated storage facility, not at the dealership. So there's a good look at the rear of the car with the Mach 1 decal. And I'll give you a little bit of a look at the underneath. But we do have photos of the underneath, certainly on the detailed listing. Again, lot 252. And there's that smart black spoiler. Again, the contrast against the fresh medium copper metallic paint. Over here to the shaded side of the car. Paint doesn't gleam, of course, because we're against the sun over here. But there's a good look at the Magnum 500 here on the passenger's rear. Again, a BF Goodrich radial TA. In addition to the paint, I'll mention that There was some surface rust that was repaired on the rockers. So they decided, if we're going to paint a rocker, we're going to paint the whole car. And that's what they've done. So even matching paint throughout. A good inclusion to mention for a period car is that it's got a passenger side sport mirror matching the driver's side. In 1973, not every car had that on the passenger side. In fact, I own a car, model year 1973, and the only side mirror it has is on the driver's side. Here's a good look at the fixed antenna, and I don't know if it shows on the shaded side of the car here, but this is what I'm talking particularly about, the 351 Ram Air label, because it's very bright. I'll show it to you on the sun side of the car in a minute, but important to note that it's a NASA hood, as Ford calls it, also known as a Ram Air hood. So here's the last of the 4 tires. I'll show you. Passenger front, BF Goodrich radial TA with the raised white lettering, and polished Magnum 500 rims measuring 15 inches. So I think I gave you a good look at the front already. I'll just zoom in on that 351 Ram Air decal, and you can see how clean it looks. And it looks that clean because it's new. New in the past, 2 or 3 weeks, I'd say. Again, I was on the big guys people to get this car ready for us. I've been keen to have it on the website for some weeks, but as I say, they took their time and they got it right with this paint. And as soon as I got here, I could tell that that's exactly what they had done. So that wraps up our exterior tour. Let's take a look at the inside. So here's a good look at the driver entry point here on the driver's side of the 1973 Ford Mustang Mach 1 Ford 4-speed manual. Door card here. You'll note the manual crank windows, manual locks, and a remote control here for the side mirror. I'll climb in. I will say it was very difficult to find any flaws on the finish of the car on the exterior. I'll show you a few on the inside though. You can see that this lights knob has lost a bit of its finish. And there's the defrost. And this would be a vent. Here you can see the Mustang emblem on the steering wheel, standard issue certainly in 1973, this 2-spoke wheel. Over here on the left, we have warning lights for oil pressure, alternator, temperature, and brakes. In the center is a fuel gauge, and you'll see one defect we have here. The lens covering the fuel gauge is cracked and missing a little chunk at the top. Over here to the right, we've got the 120 mile per hour speedometer. The odometer reads 7,205. We believe the car to have traveled 107,205 miles. However, we're promoting this one as true mileage unknown. We do not have documentation on a continuous basis as the miles were added over the last 52 years. And a flaw note here, there's a crack on this dash cover right here. It's at an interesting spot. It's not so visible from the driver's seat, but it's there. And then I note replacement gauges in the center stack for oil pressure, voltmeter, and coolant temperature. There's a little I was going to say there's a little surprise in the trunk. It's actually not in the trunk right now, but there's a box that will be in the trunk when the car goes to its new owner, and it contains this piece in the center stack. So all these surrounds, there's a picture of it both in the box and covered and on its own on the detailed listing. Again, it's lot 252. So it looks like this stock AM radio is still in place, and it is. But we have a little surprise in the glove box over here where there's a modern Pioneer unit. So that modern unit also comes with a remote control and a double DIN unit. We'll put the model on the detailed listing so that the Dr. Google folks among us can check out the specs on that one. There it is there if you want to grab it right now. I'll try and get focused in on that. There we go. Close up that glove box. And then below the stock AM radio is your normal heating and ventilation controls. And I mentioned it's a 4-speed manual. There's a good look at the factory shift knob and the Hurst shifter. You can see Hurst on that shaft, and a shift boot in rubber. Period correct, certainly. I suspect these might be the original carpets. Certainly they're the texture of the originals, and they do show a bit of sun bleaching for that nice patina look. A couple neat pieces of literature. There's a 1973 Mustang postcard. So I think that's probably been with the car since it was born. And then there's a factory, well, I should say dealer brochure, which on the inside it's quite, the colors are quite bright, but on the outside it's suffering from some sun bleaching over the past 52 years. Black vinyl seats with the high back buckets in the front, and then in the rear we've got 2 seat belts, so room for 2 in the rear. I'll also mention that there's a set of floor mats with the car, but they're not the factory mats. They're probably Ford mats, being that we're beside a Ford dealership, and this was the car of a successful Ford Lincoln dealer. But yeah, it comes with mats, but not the stock mats. I'll also mention on that rear parcel shelf, you can see a couple of speakers to support that big Pioneer deck head unit that's hiding in the glove box. This car, I'm going to show you the trunk. Not too much to see there, but it's nice and clean. And I thought I'd also mention that the car comes with the car cover you see in the trunk here. So yeah, we've got some CCC personal effects there, but there's a good look at the trunk. Very presentable. I'll take the long way back to the tripod, and then we'll move along to some closing thoughts on lot 252, the 1973 Ford Mustang Mach 1 4-speed manual. Look at that. Sharp car in medium copper metallic. So that's a good look at our 1973 Ford Mustang Mach 1 4-speed manual from the collection of the Big Guy. If you're interested in learning more about the Big Guy and his collection and his success as a Ford Lincoln dealer over the years, take a look at the first menu on the website. On the far right on a computer, or the last menu item on a phone or tablet, there's a menu item called Fun Stuff. And I think it's the second item down, but right around there, you'll see that currently we have a page dedicated to the Big Guy, his collection, and his business success over the years. So again, we've got the 1973 Ford Mustang Mach 1 4-speed manual, freshly painted by a body shop within a Ford dealership, which is adjacent to where I stand right now. So not a weekend job. 351 Cobra Jet V8. That's mated to a 4-speed manual, getting the power to the rear wheels, and the rumble of that engine through that dual exhaust is mean sounding, but a lot of fun. Certainly a nice reminder of the way things used to be with the big V8s among the domestics. So that's a good look. As I say, I think we'll end off now. So thank you for watching, and we're going to go on to the next car.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another great car here on the Car Reviews podcast with CollectorCarCanada.ca. As you might guess here, today we have a Ford Model A. This one is a 1929 model. You probably figured that out by the decorative license plate up top. And it's another from the esteemed collection of the Big Guy. In case you're not familiar with what I speak of, please do take a look at the special page we put together to commemorate his life and success as a Ford Lincoln dealer in the Ottawa region, Eastern Ontario and Western Quebec. So the family, since his passing about 18 months ago, has decided which of his cars it will be able to keep exercised and which it will not, and this falls into the latter category. So we are flattered and honored to have been chosen by the family to help with the sale of some of the vehicles. So this one, as I say, a 1929 Model A Ford, and this is lot 247 on collectorcarcanada.ca. This video is going to focus on condition of the car. The Model A aficionados will know the specs, and you'll also note that the car is on stands. So there are a couple of Model A's being offered by the family, and both of the Model A's, we do have startup videos for them, but we elected to leave them on the stands and keep them safe here in this purpose-built building in rural Ottawa area. So we're not going to start it up. As I say, we do have a startup video on the detailed listing. We've also got some walk-around videos, what we're able to do, keeping it in, as I say, this purpose-built building with all of the modern amenities. You can see just from the background that it's any car lover's paradise, but certainly a Ford lover's paradise. It's a real treat getting to spend some time here. So I'll go grab the camera. We'll do a walk around of the exterior and the interior and give you a good look at this 1929 Ford Model A Tudor two-door sedan, which you're going to see is in wonderful condition. All right, so like I was saying, a 1929 Ford Model A Tudor two-door sedan. You can see the paint really is in wonderful condition. There might be the odd fleck or imperfection here or there, but I want to say for the most part, but for the very, 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 very most part, it's flawless paint. You can see we've got the windows open right now. Even the front window, the windshield hinges out with a hinge at the top to allow some airflow for the cabin. I noted a set of matching Firestone 19-inch tires. Even the spare is a matching Firestone 19-inch. The car has been in the collection since 2011, and we know an appraiser in the area who's also active in a Model A club locally, and he tells us that the big guy during his lifetime was a member of the club and participated in the outing. So this car got some enjoyment during his lifetime and got some exercise. But despite that, you don't see much in the way of road grime or dirt or debris. Here's a good look at the vinyl roof on the two-door sedan. Again, I don't see any marks on the roof either. I note here a visor to keep the sun out of the eyes of the front seat passengers. And working our way around, you do see wonderful paint job, wonderful condition with the black stripe across. And these windows are open in the rear as well. Crank windows, we had no trouble opening and closing them. Interestingly, despite cars even built 50 years later that only have a side mirror on the driver's side, we see one on both sides here on this 29 Model A. Neat set of running boards with vinyl covering, and then the step itself in probably an aluminum, maybe aluminum alloy with the Ford emblem on them. When I say them, I say that because there's one on the passenger side as well. Good look at the 19-inch spoke wheel lined in the Firestone tire. We'll continue to work our way around. Nice clean glass. I don't note any imperfections on the glass either. And this car is equipped with a trunk. This leather is quite tight. Not sure if I'm going to be able to open it with one hand. We'll give it a shot. This one on the right side's a little tighter. I did have it open earlier. We shot the interior of the trunk for our detailed listing, but handy piece considering the rear seat goes to the rear of the car, and there's some items that probably in there since the last time the vehicle was enjoyed with the local Model A club here in the Eastern Ontario, Western Quebec region. I don't know if I'm going to get those leather straps with one hand, but so I'll just leave those for now. But there's a good look at the rear of the car. Interesting to know, we've got the stock style rear light over here on the left side. This one's kind of fun too. Nowadays you might see four-wheel disc brakes or ABS, but this one just notes that it's got four-wheel brakes. Good chrome on the bumpers. There's a Ford emblem as well as a reflector on each side. And then this red light is an aftermarket light, as well as I believe those amber reflectors. So we'll get a diagonal look at the rear of the car from here. As I say, we're in sort of a car lover's paradise here. It's a bit tight with the car next to us, but I think that gives you a good look at the rear of the 29 Model A. Working our way forward, another black spoke wheel, 19-inch with the Firestone tires. Black fenders at all four with the green paint and black accenting and the black vinyl roof. Here's a good look at the roof from the opposite angle and the passenger side mirror as well. Same setup here with the running board covered in vinyl and the aluminum alloy step with the Ford emblem engraved on it. Engine cover here and one last wheel to see. Now we'll get up close to the grille and the front bumper here. First things first, the bumper with those aftermarket reflectors. And good chrome on this bumper. Don't see any pitting or damage. And here's a good look at the horn and the big driver's side headlight. This license plate's a decorative plate. It's registered with other license plates. However, I can speak to Ontario, if the new owner is in Ontario, it's possible to procure a set of 1929 plates right away to the Ministry of Transport and get them approved for use. And here's a Ford emblem right here at the top of the grille. And another emblem as a hood ornament. And here we go for a fuel filler cap. One wiper, and the motor's up here under that visor. You can see this system is what is used to keep that hinged windshield open. So we'll take a look under the hood. Nice and easy to get at it. I've already been inside. Despite the squeaks, those locks open up pretty freely. This is a bit delicate, so I'm trying to be careful, but I didn't have any trouble with it at all. So here we see the four-cylinder engine. You see the 4 spark plugs right there, and various other details in the engine. The cowl looks great too, painted in green. Before I forget, the 4-cylinder engine is mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, driving the rear wheels. And here's a look at the radiator fan and a belt. All looks to be in proper working order. As I said earlier, please take a look at our detailed listing and you can hear the car starting. See it start. So we'll get this buttoned up and we'll show you the other side too once I get this side closed. Then get this front one first, and second time's a charm. Working our way over here to the passenger side engine cover. Same setup with the spring-loaded box, and then this handle used to delicately pull up the cover. Early Ford engineering at work. I was concerned the first time I opened the engine cover with the windshield open, but as you might expect, someone thought of that in advance, and there's good clearance between the engine cover and the open windshield. Here's a good look at the 4-banger from the passenger side. There's our fuel float. But I won't call it excellent condition, but what would be 96 years later, certainly wonderful.
cosmetic condition, and we had it running really nicely a little earlier. So we'll close that up. All right, so the engine's back to being covered up. Take a look at the interior now. Heading over with a rotary door handle. And maybe I won't climb in. I was in it earlier. Nice spring and comfort in the seats. 4-spoke steering wheel, which I'm accustomed to seeing in the Model A's. Not that I'm a model expert. But interior also in really beautiful and presentable condition. I'll move this dealer floor mat. And you can get a good look at the floor. Very presentable. And you can see the big shifter there for the 4-speed manual. And what instrumentation there is. Here's in the center with the key in its place. And there's a look at the odometer even. We're not sure about the true mileage of this 96-year-old car, but certainly it's very, very presentable. Got a corduroy pattern here on the door cards. Also unmarked. I don't see any staining at all. It's a nice complement to the, it's a match actually for the upholstery. It's just a different lighting that makes it look not quite as camel colored. And in that door map pocket was the instruction book for the 1929 Model A's, intact, and it'll go with the car to its new owner. I won't do all 4 windows, but I'll give you a look at how freely this window crank operates. It really is quite amazing. As a kid, I remember having to work a little harder than that to get a window open in our family's family trucksters. So there's a good look at the 2 front buckets matching, and really no faults in the upholstery. Matching rear bench, and a good floor here as well. No faults. And we've got our normal complement of detailed photos on the detailed listing as well. There's a good look out the rear window. We can see a built Ford Tough sign in the background. Just more evidence here that we're in the facility of a Ford dealer who takes his Fords pretty seriously. There's a bit of a look at the headliner. I'm not trying for completeness here. We do have more complete photos on the detailed listing. I'll let you see the passenger door in operation too. They both move freely. Those latches seem quite secure and strong. I don't think it showed the door sills over on the other side, but Ford emblazoned aluminum trim on the door sill. No problem with opening and closing. This car was cleaned and detailed in January. I'm shooting this video April 17th, and I note a bit of a dust on the car, but otherwise in very proper condition. So there's a good look at our 1929 Ford Model A Tudor 2-door sedan in really wonderful condition. I think it's hard not to agree with that given the demo I've just shown you. Look at our detailed listing for additional videos like walk around and start up, and our normal complement of detailed photos. Again, it's lot 247 on collectorcarcanada.ca. And I think that'll wrap up for this video. Thank you for watching, and on to the next car. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another great car here on the Car Reviews podcast with collectorcarcanada.ca. Today we have a 1961 Oldsmobile Cutlass F85. It's a 2-door, and it's called a Sport Coupe by GM at the time. You can see it's seafoam green with a white roof. And as we wander around the car here, you can see that the seafoam green paint is very presentable. It is a color change, and the car was painted soon after the current owning family purchased it back in 2005. So a 2006 repaint on this 1961 Oldsmobile Cutlass F85 Sport Coupe. Been in the same family since 2005. So as we pan away from the car, we're going to move into listening to the engine here. And here's a good look at the engine with it running. You can see the Offenhauser valve covers, so those are a definite upgrade. And I'll say the same for that chrome covered air cleaner as well. You can hear the 215 cubic inch V8 idle smoothly, and the fuel is being delivered on an even level. Getting in close to those Offenhauser valve covers, and let's have a listen to that throttle as we rev it up just a little bit to hear it at a higher engine speed. And that's going to do it for our look at the engine, and we'll move over now to the interior. The interior was also redone under current ownership, which, as I say, began in 2005. You can see the hard surface dash is in the seafoam green, and the door cards are matching. You just saw a little card that's missing for the rear seat compartment on the passenger side. But as you saw there, the contrasting darker green on the upholstery, very presentable. Front buckets up front and a rear bench in the same dark green upholstery. The steering wheel, a 2-spoke job factory with the darker green, more matching the seats than the dash, and the typical sweeping GM speedometer of the day, maxing out at 120 kilometers an hour. A few more things to note on this 20 years family owned 1961 Oldsmobile Cutlass F85 two-door sport coupe. It is lot 271 on collectorcarcanada.ca. A few items on the Cutlass F85 generally. It's a unibody construction, and that was shared with the Buick Special and Pontiac Tempest of the day. So any resemblance you see to those two cars, it's pretty natural. Again, the car is repainted in the seafoam green in 2006, soon after the current owning family purchased it. It's not the original color. You'll note the chrome bumpers and a lot of neat emblems. Oldsmobile, the rocket logo, still in place, front, rear, and sides. So that seafoam green, as we saw, is complemented by a contrasting marine green, I'll call it, interior with white contrast. And that interior, as I say, was refurbished under current ownership as well. The upholstery on those benches is quite presentable. I used bench plural. I misspoke. Buckets in the front and a rear bench, all covered in that same presentable green cloth upholstery. The interior as a whole is quite presentable, I think it's fair to say, save for that missing panel in the area on the rear seat passenger side. And of course, it's been upgraded with chrome rims that are skinned in black walls. We've got exact data on those tires on our detailed listing. Again, it's lot 271. And under hood, that engine we saw again is a 215 cubic inch V8 engine with an aluminum block. The pumper is a 2-barrel carburetor, and the 215 V8 with the 2-barrel was factory rated at 155 horsepower. Getting the power to the rear wheels is a Hydromatic 3-speed automatic transmission. The car's relatively lightweight at about 2,800 pounds, so that 155 horsepower moves it along nicely. Recent work includes brake work, new pads and new drums, so pads up front and drums in the rear in 2020, and the fuel pump was replaced in 2022. A couple of flaws that we wanted to note. There is a dent in that chrome front bumper, and the seller wanted us to mention a few things. There are some chips in the paint, some small surface rust spots. You can look at our gallery to see how minor they are, and a couple of mechanical items that he mentioned not affecting enjoyment of the car, but he did mention that the car can shift a little jerkily in first to second when cold, and he keeps an eye on the temperature gauge on very hot days where the car is being used for an extended period. So again, just to wrap up, again, we've got a 20 years family-owned 1961 Olds Cutlass F85 two-door sport coupe. It's lot 271 on collectorcarcanada.ca. That's going to do it for this car. Thank you for watching, and we're going to move on to the next car.